the coyote's voice.
They say the woods can play tricks on you, that if you're out there long enough in the dark and the silence, your brain will start filling in the gaps. You'll hear whispers in the wind, footsteps in the underbrush, voices calling your name. Most of the time, it's nothing, just nerves, just your own thoughts echoing back at you, but not that night. That night, I didn't just hear something in the woods, I heard my brother's voice. And he'd been dead for 2 years. My name's Cole. I work as a ranger in one of the larger national parks in the Southwest, and I won't say which because what happened to me isn't in any official report, and I want to keep it that way. I'd only been on the job a few months when it happened, still green, still thinking most of the ghost stories and Skinwalker warnings were just ways to spook rookies. But you learn quickly out here that there are places you don't go at night. Old trails that don't show up on maps anymore. Hollows where no sound carries no matter how loud you shout. Places that feel wrong the moment you step into them. That night, my patrol was supposed to be simple. A 4-hour loop along the southern ridges, checking for poachers or lost hikers, keeping an eye out for brush fires. The air was cold, sharp with frost. My breath fogged in the beam of my headlamp, and every crunch of my boots on the dirt trail echoed way too loud. Half an hour into the patrol, I heard it. A coyote's howl, long and sharp, cutting across the ridges. Nothing unusual. We had plenty of coyotes out here. But then another answered, and another, until it wasn't one coyote anymore. It was a chorus. Dozens of voices all rising and falling, circling me in the dark. Coyotes don't move like that. They don't surround prey. Not like wolves. And even then, something about those howls sounded wrong. Too high, too human. That's when I heard it. Cutting through the noise, clear as day.
Cole! Cole, it's me.
My brother's voice. I froze, the flashlight beam trembling in my grip. It couldn't be. My brother Mason had died in a car accident 2 winters ago. I'd buried him with my own hands. I'd stood over his coffin until they lowered it into the dirt. But I knew that voice. I'd spent my whole life listening to it.
Cole,
It said again, softer this time.
I need your help.
The sound was coming from the tree line, just beyond the reach of my light. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to turn around, get back on the ATV, and get the hell out of there. But grief has a way of making you weak. I killed the engine. The woods swallowed the silence, and then, against all reason, I stepped into the trees. The forest was suffocatingly quiet. No wind, no insects, just the crunch of my boots and the thundering of my pulse in my ears. The further I went, the stranger the sounds became. The howls stretched, broke apart, started to sound less like animals and more like people. Crying, laughing, pleading. Dozens of voices echoing between the trees. Then always cutting through the Mason's voice.
This way. Almost there.
I stumbled into a clearing. Moonlight spilled down, silver and cold, illuminating the ash-white trunks of dead trees. And there he was. My brother, standing just a few yards away. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. He looked the same as the day he died. Jeans, faded jacket, messy hair. But something was off. His smile was too wide. His eyes didn't blink. His chest didn't rise and fall. And when I swung the flashlight, his shadow stretched wrong. Too long, hunched, limbs bending at impossible angles.
Come closer,
he said.
Don't be afraid, Cole.
My throat tightened. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe. I took one step forward. and then his head snapped sideways with a sickening crack, too fast like a predator striking. His grin split wider, tearing the skin at the corners of his mouth. And in a voice that wasn't his, guttural and low, he whispered,
"You don't belong here."
The trees erupted with motion. Figures darted between them. Tall, too tall, their bodies twisted, their eyes glowing amber in the dark. Coyotes, but not. Their limbs bent the wrong way, their mouths hung too wide, filled with jagged teeth. And they were closing in. Mason, or what wore his face, tilted his head back and howled. The others answered, the sound splitting the night like knives. I ran. Branches whipped at my face, tore at my jacket, but I didn't stop. The flashlight beam shook wildly, bouncing off bark and shadows. Behind me, I heard them running, not on 4 legs, but 2. Bare feet slapping the dirt, claws raking the trunks as they passed. They were laughing. I swear to God they were laughing. I don't remember how I made it back to the ATV. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the keys twice before jamming them into the ignition. The engine roared. I gunned it, tearing down the trail, heart slamming in my chest. But over the roar of the engine, over the wind in my ears, I heard it again. Mason's voice, closer now, right behind me.
Cole, why are you running? Don't you trust me?
I didn't stop until the ranger station lights came into view. I half crashed into the parking lot, heart still hammering. The other rangers asked what happened. I told them it was coyotes, left out the rest. They wouldn't believe me anyway. But that night when I finally collapsed into bed, I dreamed of him, standing outside my cabin window grinning, his voice a whisper through the glass.
Let me in.
I woke up in a sweat, the smell of wet fur and ash still clinging to my sheets. It's been months since that night, but I still hear him sometimes. When the coyotes howl at night, their cries don't sound like animals anymore, and they sound like family, and when I hear my name carried on the wind, I know one day I won't be strong enough to keep running.
Cabin in the Wash.
There's a stretch of desert not far from the Navajo reservation where the land is nothing but dry gulches and twisting canyons. They call it the Wash, an empty sun-blasted graveyard of stone and scrub where sound doesn't carry the way it should. That's where we went, 4 of us stupid college kids looking for a weekend adventure. We rented a cabin out there, a crumbling old place with no running water, just a tank, no cell reception, and one narrow road in and out. It looked like something out of a bad horror movie, and I should have known better the moment I saw it, but I didn't. Because back then, I didn't believe in skinwalkers. The first day was fine. We unloaded coolers, cracked beers, set up sleeping bags on the cabin floor. There was me, Alex, the responsible one, then Mark, loud and reckless, Jess, who'd been my best friend since high school, and Heather, quiet, more of a tag-along than anything else. The sun beat down hard all afternoon, baking the earth until it shimmered. By the time it dipped behind the ridges, the air had cooled enough to breathe again. That's when we built the fire. We sat around it trading stories, the flames painting our faces orange, and like every dumb group of kids in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, we started telling scary stories. Jess was the one who brought it up first.
Have you guys ever heard of skinwalkers?
She asked, her voice hushed, like the desert might hear her. Mark rolled his eyes.
Yeah, shape-shifting witches or whatever. Old folklore.
It's more than folklore,
she said.
My grandma told me stories about how they wear the skins of animals, about how they can mimic voices.
Heather shifted uncomfortably.
that's not funny.
Jess shook her head.
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm saying, out here, in this part of the desert, you don't joke about it.
The fire popped. Somewhere in the dark, a coyote yipped, its call echoing through the canyon. We all froze. Jess's face went pale.
Yet they say that's how it starts.
She whispered. That night, I couldn't sleep. The desert was too quiet, the air too still. I lay on the floor of the cabin, staring at the rotted ceiling beams, trying to ignore the way every creak of wood sounded like footsteps. And then I heard it. A voice, soft, just outside the window.
Alex!
My blood ran cold. It was Jess's voice, but Jess was asleep, just a few feet away. I held my breath, praying I'd imagined it. Then it came again, louder this time.
Alex! Come outside.
The voice was wrong, flat, like someone trying on her voice without knowing how to use it. I didn't move, didn't breathe. After a long, heavy silence, the footsteps crunched away into the desert. I didn't sleep after that. When morning came, I didn't tell the others what I'd heard. Maybe I didn't want them to think I was crazy. Maybe I didn't want to say it out loud and make it real. We went hiking that day, following the dry riverbed through the wash. The sun hammered down on us, soaking the moisture out of our skin. And by the time we turned back, we were sunburned and half delirious from heat. That's when we saw it. A coyote. It stood on the ridge above us, perfectly still, watching. Its fur was patchy, mangy, skin stretched tight. Mark threw a rock at it.
Get lost, mutt.
The rock clattered uselessly down the slope. The coyote didn't flinch. It just opened its mouth. And in a voice that was almost human, it said,
Mark.
My stomach dropped. Heather screamed. The coyote turned and slipped out of sight. We ran all the way back to the cabin. The mood had changed. Nobody was joking anymore. Mark tried to laugh it off, but his voice shook. Heather wanted to leave, but it was late, and none of us wanted to risk driving the dirt road in the dark. So we stayed, and that night, the voices came again. Not one, not two, all of them. Calling our names, scraping against the cabin walls, tapping on the glass. Sometimes they were coyotes, sometimes they were each other. Once I heard my mom's voice calling me the way she used to when dinner was ready.
Alex, come inside.
I curled up on the floor, covering my ears, praying for dawn. By morning, we were wrecks. Nobody had slept. Nobody was speaking. And then Heather was gone. Her sleeping bag lay empty. Her boots were missing. We searched the cabin, the wash, the scrubby hillsides. No sign of her until we heard her voice, faint, from the ridge.
Guys, I'm over here. I hurt my ankle.
We all looked up, and there she was, standing on the ridge. But something was wrong. Her clothes were dirty, but not the same dirty as yesterday. They were wrong, like copies that didn't quite match. Her smile was too wide, her head tilted too far.
Come help me,
she called. Jess grabbed my arm.
That's not Heather.
The thing on the ridge laughed. The sound was high, broken, like glass shattering. Then it dropped to all fours and ran into the brush. We barricaded the cabin that night, pushed furniture against the doors, nailed boards across the windows. Didn't matter. The voices came back. Heather's voice, crying, begging, screaming for help. Sometimes it was right outside the door. Sometimes it was on the roof. Sometimes it was inside the walls. Mark snapped first. He grabbed the axe we brought for firewood and stormed outside, shouting curses into the dark. We heard him scream. When we yanked the door open, he was gone. But his voice kept calling back to us.
Guys, I'm fine. I found Heather. Come on out.
Jess sobbed quietly beside me.
We're next. It's gonna take us one by one.
She was right. By dawn, it was just me and Jess. We tried to run, made it as far as the dry riverbed before we heard them. Voices, hundreds of them. Some sounded like us, some sounded like our families, some sounded like strangers, speaking in broken words. The scrub all around us shifted, and shapes stepped out. Coyotes, dozens of them, but their bodies stretched and twisted, skin hanging loose, jaws unhinging too far. Their eyes glowed lead like dying coals, and behind them, walking upright, were the ones wearing faces. Mark's face, Heather's face, and Mason's face. My dead brother. They smiled, their mouths splitting too wide.
Alex,
They said together, voices overlapping.
don't run. We'll take care of you. We'll keep you forever.
Jess screamed and bolted. They swarmed her before she made it 10 feet. Her scream cut off like a knife. And then there was only me. I don't remember how I got out. I woke up hours later, sunburned, dehydrated, lying in the road a mile from the cabin. A passing rancher found me and drove me to the hospital. They said Jess, Mark, and Heather were missing, still are. The cabin was torn apart, and some nights when the wind carries just right, I still hear their voices, calling me back.
The thing, wearing her face.
I was stationed in New Mexico when it happened. Army base on the edge of nowhere. The kind of place where the desert swallows everything, where the sun beats the earth into cracked pottery, where nights are so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat echo. I'd been there 6 months, working routine night shifts, standing guard, bored out of my skull most of the time. But boredom was good. Boredom was safe. Then came that night. The night I saw my wife standing at the edge of the base fence, even though she was 3 states away. Her name's Claire. Sweetest woman I ever met. She'd been living back in Colorado while I was stuck out here on duty. We talked every night, phone pressed to my ear in the bunk, her voice the only thing keeping me tethered to home. That night, though, she wasn't on the phone. She was standing out there in the dark. I was up in the guard tower, scanning the perimeter with night vision binoculars, when I saw movement near the wire. At first, I figured it was just coyotes. We saw them all the time, slinking along the fence line. But this wasn't a coyote. It was a person, a woman, and not just any woman. Claire. Her hair was the same, her build, her face. She stood just beyond the floodlight, pale and perfect, staring up at me with wide eyes. I damn near dropped the binoculars. What the hell was she doing here? She didn't even know how to get on base. She couldn't just walk across the desert at night. Claire? I whispered, my voice cracking. And then she spoke.
Open the gate, Michael.
Her voice carried up through the night like she was standing right beside me. I froze, because something was wrong. Her mouth hadn't moved. I didn't report it. God knows I should have. But how do you explain that? How do you tell your commanding officer you saw your wife, hundreds of miles from home, standing outside the fence talking without moving her lips? I just sat there, sweating bullets, watching as she disappeared into the scrub. When my shift ended, I went back to the barracks, tried to call her. She answered on the second ring, groggy.
Mike? What's wrong? It's 2 a.m.
She was in bed, at home. I didn't sleep a second that night. The next evening, I told myself I'd imagined it. Heat stroke, fatigue, stress. Whatever excuse I could wrap my head around. But when my shift started and I climbed the tower again, I knew it hadn't been my imagination, because she came back, same spot, same time. But this time, she smiled at me.
Michael, come down.
I gripped the rifle tight, fighting the urge to run. She wasn't right. Her face looked like Claire's, but it didn't sit right on her. The skin stretched too tight around the cheekbones, like a mask just barely fitting. Her eyes caught the floodlight and gleamed red for half a second. I whispered, "You're not her." Her smile grew wider, splitting her face unnaturally, stretching until it looked painful.
Michael,
she said again, voice cracking this time, too deep, too sharp.
let me in.
I staggered back from the rail, my legs shaking. For the next 3 hours, I didn't move. I just stood there, watching her while she stood perfectly still at the fence. Every now and then, she called my name again. Each time the voice was less like Claire's and more like something else. Something that had heard her speak once and was trying to copy her without understanding the words. When dawn finally broke, she was gone. I reported it after that. The CO looked at me like I'd grown a second head. He said I'd probably seen a local, some drunk who wandered too far from town. Told me to keep it together. But the others, the other guards, they didn't laugh. One of them, Ramirez, pulled me aside after briefing.
You saw her, didn't you?
I didn't answer. Didn't have to. He just nodded.
Don't listen when they call your name.
That night, I didn't take tower duty. I patrolled instead, pacing the dark edges of the base. The desert stretched out, endless and empty, but the feeling in my gut told me I wasn't alone. And I was right. Because I heard Claire again. But this time, she wasn't outside the fence. She was behind me. I spun around, rifle raised. And there she was, standing in the dark between two buildings. Her smile was wide, her eyes wrong, her body too stiff. She tilted her head, bones cracking loud in the silence.
Michael, come home.
I stepped back, heart pounding. And then her body shivered, twitched, broke apart in ways I can't even describe. Her skin peeled, her arms bent backwards, her face slid down like melted wax. What stood there after wasn't Claire at all. It was tall, crooked, its limbs too long, its skin stretched thin, gray and leathery. Its face was a mask, literally. Claire's face hanging slack over something else beneath. The mask split in half as it leaned forward, the voice spilling out of both sides.
Michael.
I fired. Bullets tore through it, but it didn't fall. It staggered, shrieking, a sound like metal grinding against metal. And then it dropped to all fours and bolted into the scrub. When backup came running, there was nothing there but tracks in the dirt. Not human tracks, not animal tracks either. Something in between. I didn't last much longer at that base. I filed reports, begged to be reassigned, but all I got were cold stares and warnings to get my head on straight. On my last night, Ramirez found me packing.
They don't believe you.
He said. No, they don't. He nodded, then leaned in close. His voice dropped.
They wear faces. Don't let them wear yours.
I asked him what the hell he meant, but he just walked away. It's been years since then. Claire and I moved far from the desert. We never talk about it. But sometimes, at night, I wake up to the sound of her voice whispering my name. And when I look beside me, she's sound asleep.
The woods are not empty.
I used to love camping. It reminded me of being a kid. The smell of smoke on my clothes, the feel of sleeping bags on the cold ground, my dad teaching me to point out constellations. I wanted to pass that on to my own daughter. So last summer, I packed up the car with my wife, Megan, and our little girl, Sophie, and we drove 3 hours north to a stretch of national forest I'd heard about from a coworker. Supposedly, it was quiet, untouched, a place where you could be alone. That part was true. Too true, because those woods were not empty, and I will never take my daughter camping again. We arrived late in the afternoon, when the sun was slanting low through the trees, painting everything gold. The forest was thick, towering pines, heavy brush, the kind of place where the shadows stretch long and the air smells like sap and earth. Sophie was 6, full of boundless energy, skipping ahead on the trail with her stuffed rabbit clutched under one arm.
"Stay close,"
Megan called, but her voice was warm, easy. None of us felt uneasy yet. We reached a clearing by a small creek, flat enough for a tent. I set up while Megan unpacked, and Sophie waded in the shallows, squealing every time the cold water touched her toes. It felt good, normal. That was the last normal moment we had. The first night around the fire, Sophie asked for a story. I told her one of my dad's old ones, about hunters who got lost in the woods and were led home by a talking coyote. Megan gave me a look, one eyebrow raised. Maybe not the talking coyote stories. Sophie giggled.
Coyotes can't talk, Daddy.
From the dark, as if on cue, a coyote yipped. The sound echoed through the trees, high and sharp, too close for comfort. We all went still. Then another one answered, and another, until the woods around us pulsed with the sound of coyotes yipping and howling. Sophie buried her face in Megan's side. I forced a laugh, though my skin prickled. See? They heard us talking about them. But something in my gut twisted, because the calls weren't moving. They circled us, but each voice sounded fixed in place, like the coyotes weren't running through the trees. They were standing, waiting. That night in the tent, I woke to Sophie's voice.
Daddy.
I blinked in the dark, groggy. She was sitting up in her sleeping bag, rabbit clutched tight. Her eyes were wide, reflecting the faint moonlight leaking through the tent. "What is it, kiddo?"
I heard someone calling my name.
My heart skipped. Megan stirred beside me.
"She probably dreamed it."
But I hadn't been dreaming. I'd heard it too, faint. From outside the tent, a voice whispering.
Sophie.
I sat up, listening hard. The forest was dead quiet now. Not a single coyote, not even an owl.
Daddy.
Sophie whispered again.
They sounded like you.
I swallowed hard. "Go back to sleep," I told her, forcing calm. "It's just the woods playing tricks." But my hand tightened on the hatchet I kept near the flap. because I knew the woods don't play tricks like that. Morning came gray and heavy. Sophie seemed fine, playing by the creek, but Megan and I kept trading looks. I didn't want to scare her, but Megan knew. She grew up near Navajo land. She knew the stories, Skinwalkers. I'd laughed at them before, not anymore. By the second night, I was jumpy, scanning the tree line constantly. Every crack of a twig set my nerves on edge. Megan tried to keep it light, reading to Sophie by lantern glow. But Sophie was quiet, too quiet. When it came time for bed, she didn't fight it the way she usually did. She just crawled into her sleeping bag, turned on her side, and faced the tent wall. And that's when I noticed it. Her stuffed rabbit. She dropped it by the fire earlier, and I never saw her pick it up. But now, it was in her arms. The fur was wrong. Patchy, darker. Its glass eyes seemed too bright. "Sophie?" I asked carefully. "Where'd you get the bunny?" She turned her head slowly and smiled. But it wasn't Sophie's smile. It stretched too wide, her lips peeled back too far. My stomach flipped. Megan noticed too. I felt her grab my wrist, squeezing hard. Sophie giggled, but the sound that came out wasn't hers. It was deeper, harsh. And then, just as suddenly, she rolled over and closed her eyes like nothing had happened. We didn't sleep that night. Every so often, Sophie sat up in the dark and whispered to herself. Words I didn't recognize. Once, she crawled to the flap of the tent and pressed her face against it, breathing slow, as if waiting for something to answer. I held Megan close, neither of us daring to speak. When dawn broke, Sophie was back in her bag, sleeping peacefully. The next day, Megan wanted to leave.
We pack up. We go now. Something is wrong with her.
But Sophie overheard, and she cried, not like a child, like something mimicking a child. The sobs came in jagged gasps, too loud, echoing unnaturally in the trees. "Don't go, Mommy," she wailed. "Don't leave me." We froze, because the voice wasn't Sophie's. It was mine. That evening, I tried to be strong. I told myself we were tired, hallucinating, hearing things in the woods. But when Sophie came back from the creek, dripping wet, rabbit in hand, my blood turned to ice, because she was already here. Standing by the fire with Megan roasting marshmallows. Two Sophies, both smiling, both wrong. I don't remember screaming, but Megan did. She grabbed the hatchet, shoving one Sophie behind her, glaring at the other. The second Sophie laughed, a broken, metallic laugh. Its skin rippled, its eyes clouded, its face folding in on itself like melting wax. It dropped the rabbit, and the thing twitched and grew, bones cracking, limbs stretching until it towered above us, a parody of human form draped in loose, gray flesh. Its face split open, and both Sophies spoke at once.
Daddy!
I don't remember the run, only the aftermath. Megan and I made it back to the car by pure instinct. Sophie in tow. Our Sophie, we hoped, we prayed. We drove all night, headlights barely cutting the dark. The forest loomed endless around us, shapes shifting just beyond the reach of the beams. And sometimes, in the trees, I swear I saw her again. Another Sophie, watching, smiling. We don't talk about it now. We don't go camping. Sophie doesn't remember, or pretends not to. But sometimes at night I hear her whispering in her room, talking to her rabbit. And sometimes it whispers back.
It knows my name.
I never thought much about being alone on the road. For years, I drove trucks across the Southwest. Nights were quiet. The desert stretched for miles, Empty except for my headlights cutting through black. I liked it that way. The solitude, the rhythm of the tires on asphalt. It was my world. Until that night. I'd been hauling a load from El Paso to Flagstaff. The sun dipped below the horizon, bleeding orange and purple across the horizon. The desert stretched endlessly. I hadn't seen another car for hours. My CB radio crackled with static, the only other sound the hum of the engine. Then the truck died, just cut out. No warning. I tried the ignition again. Nothing. My heart sank. I was on a long stretch with no services, no cell reception, just me, the road, the desert. I stepped out, the air dry and sharp against my face. And that's when I heard it. A voice.
Mike.
I spun around. The road was empty. The desert silent. "Who's there?" I called.
Mike.
It said again, closer this time. I froze. The voice was familiar, terrifyingly familiar. And then I saw him, a man standing by the shoulder of the road, lean, dark-haired, grinning. His clothes were ragged, but the face, it was my best friend from high school, Aaron.
Hey man, need a lift?
My pulse spiked. I hadn't seen Aaron in over 10 years. He lived in Phoenix. He was alive, and yet something about him felt wrong. I hesitated. My gut screamed. I wanted to drive past, but I'd been alone for hours. The desert pressed in around me like a living thing.
Come on. I can get you to a gas station,
the figure said. I climbed into the passenger seat, shaking. He smelled off. Rotten, like sweat and soil. I chalked it up to desert dust. We drove in silence for a while. The radio crackled static, then silence. Then he spoke.
You know I'm here for you, right?
I swallowed. Aaron, you're supposed to be in Phoenix. He laughed. Not quite right. Like the sound of metal scraping.
I know,
he said.
But I can be anywhere. I know things, Mike. Things you've forgotten.
That's when I noticed the hands. His fingers were too long, knuckled and bent. His skin pale and stretched tight. The eyes, his eyes, but wrong. Red in the corners, black flecks moving like insects. My stomach churned. I tried to stop the truck, but the ignition wouldn't respond. That's when I realized he wasn't touching the wheel. He wasn't even inside, yet somehow he was controlling the truck. The headlights flickered across the road. Shadows moved at the edges. Coyotes? Maybe. But their howls were mixed with whispers. Names I recognized. My mother, my sister, my ex-girlfriend, calling me, pleading, laughing. Hours passed. I don't know how. Every time I tried to rest, the voice came again. Whispering, coaxing, my own name, my childhood nickname. Then I saw more of them. Shadows flitting across the desert, tall and thin, skin gray and leathery. They moved unnaturally, limbs cracking, stretching. Sometimes they wore faces I recognized. I tried to scream, but my voice was swallowed by the wind. By midnight, I'd lost track of what was real. I thought I saw Aaron's face in every shadow. On the roadside, in the mirrors, sometimes behind the wheel, sometimes outside, walking alongside the truck, but keeping pace with me as if he could bend space, and always whispering my name.
Mike.
At some point, I stopped driving. Couldn't anymore. My arms were weak, my eyes bloodshot, my heart pounding in my chest like it would break. I crawled out of the truck and ran. The desert stretched endless around me. Sand underfoot, rocks tearing my boots. But I kept running, and I heard them all. The shadows, the voices, the faces, calling me, laughing, pleading, threatening. I tripped and fell. Something grabbed my ankle, sharp, burning. I kicked, but more hands, more limbs, not human, not animal, pulled me down. Their faces twisted in grotesque imitation, mouths splitting, teeth sharp. I woke up hours later, maybe days. The truck was gone. The road was gone. I was lying on bare desert sand. No footprints, no tracks, just me and the shadows. They whispered from every angle. Sometimes soft, sometimes screaming.
Mike.
I ran again, following the sound of... what? Safety? Escape? Or maybe it was the illusion, dragging me deeper into the desert. Every time I looked back, I saw Aaron, smiling, his hands twisted into claws. Every time I turned forward, another face appeared. Friends, family, complete strangers, everyone calling my name, wanting me, waiting. I lost track of time. I stopped counting hours, days, miles, only ran, only listening, only obeying the whispers. At some point, I realized I wasn't alone. Something was moving with me, mimicking my stride, keeping pace. It spoke my name, my voice.
Mike, come with me. You're safe with me.
I saw it clearly for the first time. A skinwalker, taller than a man. Limbs crooked, skin gray, hanging in patches. Its face was a perfect mask. My mother's face, my sister's, my old friends, all melded together, smiling, teeth jagged, eyes alive with malice. It lunged. I screamed, I ran, I tripped and fell. It grabbed me. The touch was cold, burning. It whispered things into my ear, secrets only I could know. Names, memories, fears, every one of them used against me. I woke up somewhere else. A clearing I didn't recognize. The sun low in the sky, blood red. My throat raw from screaming. My arms and legs scraped raw. And I saw them, dozens of skinwalkers surrounding me. Each one wearing someone I once trusted, loved, or knew. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. I knew their intentions. And one, taller than the rest, stepped forward. My father's face, my voice, whispered,
Mike, you belong with us now.
I ran, couldn't stop, didn't know where I was going. The desert shifted around me, twisting, impossible. Shadows followed, whispers chased, faces called my name. And then I realized it knew everything about me. Every fear, every weakness, every memory. It knew my name, and it wouldn't stop. I don't know where I am now. I don't know how far I've gone. But sometimes, at night, I hear the whisper again. Mike, and I know it's coming. And I know it always will.
Thank you again for tuning in to the Eerie Archives channel. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what you'd like to see in the next video. Until next time, stay eerie.